Good afternoon. Welcome to Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I'm Lyndon Wilson. I'm the creator of The Difference and producer of Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I'm going to get Brian in here in just a second, but first I want to share just a little bit about The Difference and what we're doing here. The Difference was created to really spotlight and highlight the local and area small businesses and help them get more visibility, get their voice out, kind of get a more brand awareness of who they are, what they're doing, because we all want to support local. It's the backbone of our communities. It's the backbone of our state. It's the backbone of our country. And so I've been fortunate to, over the last 20, 25 years, to meet a lot of really good entrepreneurs, business owners, tons of people in the real estate industry that have made the difference in their communities, in their industries, and definitely, they're what they have learned over those years, and the people that have mentored them have allowed them to make the difference in their own lives, their family, and their careers and businesses. So, having said that, I'm about to bring on your host, Brian Poduska. Got him in here. He may be trying to get this thing going live. If you guys see us looking down, number one, it's because we're not professionals. So don't hold us to that standard. We're just regular old business owners trying to get it done every day, trying to do the right thing, help people, make the right connections. And so we have a good time doing what we do, and we give each other a hard time when we show that we're not pros at what we're doing here. And trust me, I get made fun of every day, and my skin's getting thicker, so I'm good with that. But Brian, welcome to your show. And happy to see you again. Tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody about Real Property Management, and then we'll talk a little bit before we bring in your first guest.
Awesome. Thanks, Lennon. And so thanks for the introduction. Yeah, but I'm by no means a pro at this radio and podcast thing. So if you do see me down, it's usually just now I was trying to get the Facebook Live thing going, but. Anyway, my name is Brian Poduska. I'm the owner of Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. And what that means is exactly that. We focus on your real estate investments, whether they be single family, multifamily, residential, or small commercial. So we offer full service property management. So in a nutshell, that's tenant screening, tenant placement, rent collection, maintenance, evictions, all that sort of stuff. So that's your basic property management. But we also offer to our investor clients, we have a tool called Wealth Optimizer, which we utilize to analyze real estate investments from every angle. So not just cash flow. People look at cash flow when they're looking at real estate, but it's not just cash flow. It's taking advantage of the appreciation of a property, as well as depreciation that you can take against your income on a income generating real estate property. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. Part of the difference here, and have been for over a year now. And it's an awesome show. I think we're going to cover some collaboration and how we work together and as a team and grow collectively. So with that, I'll kick it back to you, Lyndon.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the when I first started The Difference, and I called it The Difference, it's because over the 18 years of being an entrepreneur and professional and coaching, you start to get a good visual of what people are doing that have gone from acceptable to exceptional in their industry. There are certain characteristics, certain commonalities that they have, and I called those the difference. What's the difference in doing an acceptable job, having an acceptable brand, and being exceptional? And so when I started the show, when we first started originally, we were highlighting those people and what they were doing, and they were sharing their stories of their mentors that instilled certain values with them, and then also getting stories, from folks like you, Brian, that is building a business. You came from corporate, so you've got that unique transition outlook, and so you came from corporate. And you talked about the things that made the difference. And one of those that, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is really the connections that we make and the relationships that we make and how we make those. And on an earlier show today, Jordan Espeseth, who you introduced me to, so this goes right along with what we're talking about today. You helped make a connection that has helped grow the difference, and I appreciate that, and I'm doing my best to give that back to you. But it's those type of relationships where I feel like we have a tremendous value in the people that we know and how we can introduce them to our circle. So I took a note down today, and one of the questions, because I'm always doing this thinking from my coach's hat, have you done enough to earn entrance into their network or sphere? That's what we're looking for, right? And I think sometimes, and Jordan and I had that discussion today, most business professionals are so focused, rightfully so, on serving the client that we forget about the industry people around us, right? And that's really, that is a, I'm not going to say an untapped market for referrals, but it really, it's not been tapped at its full potential, I don't believe. I think that, when we talk about being relational, Brian Dobbs mentioned this the other day. Being relational is not just being friendly, right? It's getting to know someone and really having that connection, so that in that way you've earned your way to be a part of their sphere. No one's just going to invite you into all their working relationships, right? That's a risk. That's really risky. But once you have gained their trust and they're comfortable, yeah, they're going to invite you in. But you've got to be willing to do that with them as well. And we're working to build that culture in this community that we call the difference. And I know that like you said, we met about a year ago, and Dustin Payne, I think, and Shannon Cagle introduced us. And it just, the way this works, it's just so cool. It really is. You build these relationships, and that creates new relationships, and that creates new relationships. And you look back 20 years later, and you're like, wow, I got a lot of people I care about out there and want to help, and we're helping each other. And for me, that's where the longevity of your business comes from. Referrals are great, but they're fleeting and they have to be replaced every day. But those relationships that produce referrals or produce, let me say it this way, don't necessarily produce referrals, but Brian Poduska, if you, and I say Brian Poduska because I'm used to having two Brians on the show.
That's all good.
If you and I have a good relationship, then you become my brand ambassador by choice, right? You want to do that. You are proud to be a part, have a friendship with me, have a connection. So as we talked about before, it's not like you get up every day and go, I'm going to go promote the difference. But when someone happens to mention it and it triggers that, you mention the difference at that point, because we are eager to help our friends and help our connections. So I think that he's ready. We're about a minute early, but this guy talks a lot if we can get him going. So I'm kidding. That's the other thing I love about, our shows. I think when we all first started, we were all kind of buttoned up a little bit, right? Now we're getting to know each other a little bit, and we razz each other and have a good time. But now
all the shit comes out.
That's right. That's right. So let's bring in, we just killed about 30 seconds. So let's bring in James Kern now. Welcome, James. How are you doing?
Man, I'm great, guys. How are y'all doing?
Great, James. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining. Happy to have you on. Obviously, you guys know each other,
Yes.
and we got some people watching, but I want James to talk a little bit. First of all, James has a show. He's going to talk about his show, but he also owns a company, and we want to be able to talk about that, share a little bit about that. But James, let's talk about your show, and I want to talk about your show, Moving Conversations. I'm probably going to butt in every once in a while because I'm not only the producer, I'm a big fan. It is such an entertaining and educational show, what you're putting together. And I really want to applaud you for that. in what you're doing. But talk a little bit about moving conversations, what you guys are doing, what your objective is, and talk a little bit about the audience that you're trying to reach.
Well, thanks for that. And we it's moving conversations, and really the premise of the show was about attracting an audience that was diverse, an audience that was interested in content that would basically move them into thinking maybe a different way, maybe would move them into living life maybe a different way, move them into action. So many of us, or let me just say me, I won't speak for everyone else. I'll speak for me. There are a lot of decisions that come across my plate, whether it be business, whether it be in my social life or family with my kids. And sometimes you just need to know that what you're thinking is on the money, spot on. You need a little encouragement to pull the trigger. Sometimes you're not sure and you don't really have it all together, but maybe someone else speaks to you about it, and you start to formulate the best plan. Maybe you formulate the best way to go about incentivizing your kids, or connecting with your wife better, connecting with your employees better, what motivates people. And so really that's what our show is about, is just trying to help people move in a positive direction in their life, move in a positive direction in their relationships. And sometimes moving in a positive direction may mean that you need to quit that job, quit that relationship. We're not on there advocating divorce or anything like that, so I don't want to make it sound when I say quit, but there's some things that we engage in that maybe not are healthy. All of us have found ourselves in those places. And so moving conversations is just about helping people move through life with healthy thinking, and really just sparking conversations and interest and thought-provoking conversations that maybe people don't have anyone to talk to about or learn with. So that's kind of where we're going with our show, move people into a better place.
That's awesome. And like I said, of course, I'm fortunate enough to produce it. I'm there at every show in the background, listening and taking notes. And, I've been reading a lot. Personal development is kind of personal and professional development is part of why the difference was created. I think we all need that. James, I want you to talk a little bit about it, because I read this and I wished I had the article, or I wished I could quote it. But it was talking about communication, and that's what y'all talk about, moving conversations. You talk about communication, but how important, and this is what I've learned from the show, understanding, you have to understand yourself and who you are. You really got to take the time to figure out who you are and understand it. But you've also got to learn to understand other people. And that article I read the other day is that they talk about communication is key. And the guy said, I want to challenge that. I don't think it's communication is key. Understanding what you're trying to communicate, or someone's trying to communicate with you, is key. And I think watching these past shows, and I can't remember how many you guys have done now, forgive me, but I just keep taking that out of every one, because I start to understand a little bit more about myself each show. And then I start thinking back about some of the challenges I've had, relationships, professional relationships, whatever it may be. And I'm like, man, if I would have known this then, I could approach that whole thing differently and may have had a different outcome. What are your thoughts on really digging deep like that, and being able to grasp the concept of understanding?
Well, I think, and to use, you often like to use coaching analogies and things like that. And I would relate it to that in some way is that, first we have to understand, if we're coaching a team, we've got to understand what our talent level is, what our skill set is, and what we're best at, right, as a team, before we can understand our opponent. The difference is we're not trying to beat anybody. In sports, we're trying to beat the other team. And the way we beat them is we get really good, and then we figure out how to game plan against them. But I think there is some commonality there. And that is, first, we've got to understand what makes us tick. I'll never forget sitting in class, which is where I met my co-hosts, Darren and April Mabry. They're not with us today, but they're my weekly co-host. And the first few classes that I sat in at church, because that's where we met, is in a life group at our church. And Darren's the teacher. And I thought, okay, I'm I'm understanding who I am now with the DISC assessment and things like that. And I was able to put words and the description. And I said, man, almost like this DISC assessment, it gets me. So in order for me to communicate better, I had to kind of understand, in words and to be able to describe it effectively. This is what motivates me. This is the way I think. This is the positive. This is a negative. This doesn't work. This does work. This works with certain people. It doesn't work with certain people. I think all of us have that desire to be known and to be heard and understood, right? I mean, everybody wants to be known. Doesn't mean
Right.
we want to be known, like put our name up on a billboard, but we want people to really know us. Most people do. A lot of people hide from that, but I would say healthy people want to be known and understood and want to be heard. And so I think with effective communication, because communication, I mean, anybody can talk and try to communicate a message, but you've got to understand yourself, because what motivates me may not motivate you, Lyndon. What motivates me may not motivate Brian. And so just speaking from a perspective of always what motivates me or what speaks to me, that may miss you. That may miss my spouse. That may miss my client. That may miss my kids. So I have to first know what motivates me, but then I have to understand, who am I talking to? What motivates them? What's important to them? And then I have to find, especially in marriage, and we talk a lot about marriage on our show, is I have to understand what's important to my wife. And then I not only need to understand that, but I need to find value in that. I don't need to just dismiss it and go, well, that's important to my wife, but here, let me tell you what's important to me. So many of us are guilty of, at times, so inwardly focused. Everything is yeah, but. And so I think we can take that into our client relationships, our social relationships, our friendships, and our family relationships, and really, understand what makes you tick, then understand and have a true passion and a care and understanding for those around you, and understanding them and realizing the difference. Them being different doesn't make them wrong, or you right. We can all, have different interests, different passions, and still come together and have connections.
Right. Well, and you mentioned coaching, and we're gonna try to move on next here to talk a little bit about your business. But you mentioned coaching, and one of the things that I did in coaching, because I always remembered what it was like to be a player, right? And when someone, coaching defensive backs, if you made a mistake, a lot of times it was 7 points, 6 points. And it wasn't like, maybe you took the wrong gap as a defensive lineman and the linebacker made a tackle 5 yards down the field. You screwed up as a defensive back. Usually it's like a spotlight, and everybody knew it was you, and it usually resulted in points. And so that's a terrible place to be, by the way, when you're coming off the field after you just did that. Trust me. But I would always ask them before I went into Lyndon Wilson coaching mode and started ripping heads, what did you see? That was the thing that I wanted to. What did you see? I wanted to try to understand why they did what they did, because that could have been on me. It could have been a coaching error that I'd made. Maybe I told them to look for something, and they actually did that because, James, it looks different in the press box than it does on the sideline, and it looks different on the field than it does on the sideline, right?
That's right.
So, hearing Darren and April talk and you talk and share those things, one of the things that it's so important. We all want to be understood, and just to know that if you, James and I are having a conversation, disagreement, a debate, knowing that you care enough to want to understand my point of view goes a long ways in that not turning into a battle. I really believe that. And I've taken so much from Darren and April in your conversation on trying to focus more on other people's perspective. Doesn't mean I have to change my mind. We can agree
That's
to
right.
disagree. We can agree to disagree, but just me having the respect for you to try to understand why you feel the way you feel, or you're saying what you're saying, it kind of diffuses the challenges. Like you said, Darren's talked a lot about the depersonality and the need to win, and there's so much in that I can relate to, right? And when you get into, and I think you alluded to this, but when you get into needing to win in a relationship, I think it can become toxic pretty quick. pretty quick.
Yeah, and I would just say about our show, I mean, look, we're not marriage counselors. We don't claim to be. We don't even go in that direction. We're not child psychologists. We're not even, April is an executive business coach, but I was about to say we're not even business coaches, but we're really just trying to help people kind of understand themselves better and understand the people around them that they do life with. So what I would say about our show too is, if you're not connecting with your spouse the way you want to, if you feel misunderstood, if maybe you wonder sometimes, why in the heck do I do these things? If you're not connecting with your kids, or maybe you just want to learn how to maybe be, a more effective parent. If you're not connecting with your employees, if you're missing the boat with your clients, or let's say you're doing all those things pretty good, but you just want to improve. I think our show is a great show for that, because we're going to discuss things and give people tools to understand those things. I mean, we've been talking about narcissism the last couple of weeks, a couple of shows, and we're going to continue that next week. And it's our world's full of people that have narcissistic tendencies. In fact, I believe we live in a world where most of us have some unhealthiness, some brokenness from our past that we've never dealt with, or we don't know how to deal with, and so we haven't. And I think that our conversations, the things we're digging into, can really impact people in that way. And for all the parents out there, if you're a parent, even if your children have moved out of the house, I'd like to encourage you. There's a book that was just brought to my attention that I've started reading, and I'm bringing this up because we're going to do our show on this. But it's 52 things that kids need from their dads. And so for me, I've got an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I'm sitting here reading this book going, crap, I can't stand to find out that I could have done something better. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just kicking myself going, yeah, you do some things really well, but golly, I can't believe you missed on that. But we're going to have our show in a few weeks here, and we'll alert everyone to it on the show. But we're going to have some people on who've read the book, who in my opinion, have done a great job as parents that I've got to see doing life up close and personal. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to get their feedback on parenting and those connections that we're talking about, and their thoughts on the book. And so I would like to just encourage everybody that if you're looking for a good Christmas present, or just a good book you want to read, maybe you haven't had kids yet, you want to have kids, maybe you've got kids that are young, or maybe your kids are gone and you just want to go back and figure out some things that you can still do to be a great dad. That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about on our show in the upcoming weeks. And that's really the tone of our show, is really just about helping all of us do life better in our relationships.
Yeah, awesome. And I really appreciate you being a part of the difference and all you bring to that.
I will say real quick, I think if there's anybody listening, even if you don't have you don't think you have a need for a podcast to promote your business, I mean, you do. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, we're not talking about moving, right? We're talking about we're having moving conversations, but we're not talking about boxes and dollies and trucks and furniture. I would encourage anybody who would like to, who's got something to talk about that they think can actually make a difference in someone's life, reach out to Lyndon. This opportunity is great. The cost of the show, it would surprise you. It's not near as expensive or costly as you would think. I think it's very affordable. There's a lot of value in it. So that's my plug there for the show as well, for the differences, I should say.
I appreciate it. And real quick, we've got about a minute left. Brian, I hope you didn't fall asleep back there. I hope I didn't hijack the show here, but I want to quickly put up information about Delicate Moving, because you are the owner of Delicate Moving. So within the next 45 seconds, if you can, tell everybody a little bit about Delicate Moving.
Well, first of all, thank you. We've been in business for over 20 years now. I've been the owner of the business for 20 years now. And it's simple. We're going to go out and take care of people's furniture as though it was our own furniture. We get a lot of referrals. About 60% of our business is referral based, and we tell all of our referrals partners that our two most important things are the customer's furniture and your reputation. And so we hire nothing but full-time movers. We don't use any day labor or temporary help. Free padding, shrink wrapping. We do free in-home estimates. We've got a very competent staff. I've got several people who've worked for me for over 10 years that are out doing moves. So we're just committed from the top down to taking care of people's stuff. It's a stressful time in people's lives when they're moving. Even when you move into your dream home, it's stressful. And so we understand that, and we're committed to that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, James, out of time, but your show obviously on Tuesdays at 1
Tuesdays,
p.m.
1 o'clock.
Yep. So
And
thank you for
Brian's
coming
killing
on
it.
today.
Brian, you're killing it with Real Property Management. Brian's been a faithful sponsor of our show, and so we appreciate him giving up some of his time today. And encourage anybody who's in that real estate need for management to get with Brian. He does a great job.
Thanks, James. Appreciate that, man.
All right. We'll see you later, James.
Okay, man.
All right. Now we're going to bring in Adam Terrell. Adam and I have known each other for a while. He is the along with his wife. I always want to remember that because I know what that's like. Not giving them credit when they deserve it. But he and Liz are the owner or the creator of the Real Estate Triangle. And Adam, good to see you today. I'm glad you're here. Excited that appreciate you coming on and being able to share a little bit about yourself, a Real Estate Triangle, and your show. So you actually got a show coming up at 3:00 today, right?
Absolutely. Today at 3:00. Brian, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. It's really unique. We have a unique opportunity being involved with the difference and allowing the difference to host our shows and empower our shows and get them out there. And I think Brian will attest to this as well. I didn't know, I didn't have a professional relationship with Brian until the Real Estate Triangle and the difference. Lynn and I started working together a little over a year ago, and then quickly followed suit with his connection and became connected with Brian. If it weren't for those two channels, he and I wouldn't be professionally connected. And so I always like to reiterate and to share people the opportunity that they have to be involved with these channels, to make those professional relationships and those professional connections. And Lynn, you say it all the time, we do business with people we like, know, and trust. And when we work with people we like, know, and trust, our clients get to take advantage of that immediate connection, because if they are working with us, they like, know, and trust us. And then they give immediate credibility to the folks that we're working with.
Amen.
And so, just around the horn, I think all of us could attribute to that, taking advantage of those relationships.
So tell us a little bit about the Real Estate Triangle first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Real Estate Triangle show. How did that get started? I mean, it's funny. I had a show this morning, and we talk about, again, I hate to keep going back to this, but I think it's important. The original show, the network, is called The Difference. And I did that. What makes the difference, right? What allows us to reach new levels? What are people doing? What are my competitors doing better than me? And so having a conversation this morning with Jordan Espaseth that has the show Real Producers Live. You, with the Real Estate Triangle, are doing the same thing that I'm doing with The Difference, that Jordan's doing with Real Producers, and it's helping people connect. And I think that we don't put enough value on connecting. And as I was telling Jordan this morning, over the years, what I've realized is that we know how to meet, we know how to shake hands and exchange business cards. But from there, I think there's a big disconnect for a majority of people. The minority of people know how to take that to the next level and connect and build those relationships and earn that trust, earn that know, like, and trust, label, so that you're invited into their circle and they introduce you to people in their circle. You created the Real Estate Triangle to do a lot of that, right?
Absolutely. You mentioned my wife, Liz, and she and I are a real estate team. We are the Triangle Group as a real estate team. And realtors, title companies, and lenders are the world's worst at hosting happy hours and making quote unquote friends. And they all shake hands. And so at the end of the day, if you don't follow up on those and make those connections, just like you're talking about, 1,000 faces and 10 names. and that doesn't make anyone any money.
Right.
And so I created the original the real estate triangle for the very reason I do marketing and communications for Liz as a realtor. And so I wanted to put together a trusted group of folks that I like, know, and trust, and be able to round out the real estate team. We talked on subsequent shows, previous shows, I'm sorry, that, you know, it's very common that in a real estate transaction, there can be 80 to 100 people involved in a real estate transaction, from the title company, from the lender, the inspector, the carpet cleaner, the roofer, painter, plumber, electrician, all the way around the circle. There are many, many disciplines surrounding the real estate transaction. And we didn't have a good pipeline. 4 years ago, we didn't have a good network of those professionals that we work with. So we started the Real Estate Triangle to encourage real estate industry professionals to join and get to know each other and build those relationships. And it's absolutely exploded. And it got so large, it was just a private real estate group when I first started it. And it's gotten so big that we're in 5 states, 9 different cities. The Dallas group alone, which serves DFW, is just reached 3,500 members. And it got so big that we opened it up to the public. And we wanted to do 2 things. And that is, number one, I had a complete pipeline of our team
Right.
that we work with. And so I wanted to offer that to other realtors. And also, I wanted to open that up to the public, and that's what we're spending marketing dollars on now, is trying to reach the public so that the general buying public can go to the Real Estate Triangle and find the plumber, painter, roofer, electrician that they need for their individual issues that they have come up as a homeowner.
Sure.
And so that's how the Real Estate Triangle started. Like I said, it's just exploded. And so we want to continue to get the word out and get that word out more and share. And then you and I partnered well over a year ago and have been working together, as the Cloud radio station has grown. We've been fortunate enough to work together to share audiences, to bring in those sponsors that you have and get them involved with the Real Estate Triangle, vice versa, the sponsors that the Real Estate Triangle has, and get them involved in the difference. And so I think that we're doing a good job. Of course, we can always do better, but I think that we're doing a good job modeling that, working with people we like, know, and trust, and duplicating that, replicating that over and over and over with all the people that get involved with these channels.
Absolutely. And so now you have taken that, obviously us working together, and we're creating a show. You've got a great format, by the way, and what you're able to do from beginning to end of each show, and how organized you are and what you're doing. Talk a little bit now about what you're doing with the Real Estate Triangle show. Again, and I don't want to put words in your mouth or steal your thunder here, but Adam, you and I have had good conversations. Of course, we're both Razorback fans, so that means a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. But we, and the culture and the community within the difference, we all share the understanding that as a business owner, if I can help bring visibility and awareness to another person's business, I increase my value. Mm-hmm. And that that's not your sole purpose, but it is an auxiliary purpose of what you're doing with the Real Estate Triangle show. Am I right on that? While you're talking, absolutely. I'm also going to pop up your flyer. I don't have the new one, by the way. I saw you did change the day to Thursday. I've got the one that still says Wednesday. So anybody watching, we'll make sure that they know it is Thursday at 3, not Wednesday at 3. But talk about that.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do with the show is it really operates like a modern day talk show. And so we want to, we pick a topic of the day, so to speak, whether it's, we've recently gone over the housing shortage, the market shortage with homes on the market in the real estate industry today in DFW. Whether it is how to prepare your listing, for success. We've gone over topics of what do you do and who do you talk to if you want to build a custom home on land that you've purchased. And so then what we do is we try to get all of those disciplines involved. And then just to that two-pronged approach, like you said, we want to inform the buying public as they watch who they need to reach out to accomplish X, Y, or Z task in the real estate world. But also we want to give the opportunity for the people who are involved in the real estate triangle to get their name out there.
Right.
We are frankly endorsing them as people we like, know, and trust when we invite them on the show. And we want to give them airtime and get them out there in front of the buying public and in front of the industry to make those connections. And so, just like I said, one of the big things of where we're at with Real Estate Triangle now is we want to replicate. I've developed that network of 50 or 60 trusted people that we work with on a real estate transaction. And I want other realtors to be able to build that same network. I want other lenders to be able to build that same network, and so on. So we want to replicate. So we want to replicate, but also we want to give them the avenue to put their name out there and frankly advertise for themselves.
Right.
And we've got that large audience. We had just a couple of shows past. I think it's up to 2,500 views now.
Yep.
We're actually getting a lot of great traffic. And so it's very advantageous to come on our show. And I'm super happy about that.
Yeah. Where else can you go and spend 15 minutes and have 2,500 people listen to you?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, it's literally the best time for your money that I can see in the industry today, frankly, and certainly in the DFW area. Because we're all small fish in a big pond, if we're honest. And we're all, shouting for attention and wanting to get our name out there. And this is the simplest, easiest way to get our name out there in front of thousands of people who otherwise wouldn't see it.
Correct. Brian, do you have anything you want to talk to Adam about or ask?
I mean, nothing specific. We've always talked about, being one connection or introduction away from your next big deal, right? And I think what you guys are doing with the Real Estate Triangle is exactly building that pathway to do that. So I joined it once I met you, and I think it's awesome. I think it's an awesome concept, and you guys are doing great with it.
Well, I appreciate it. Excuse me. And I got to share with Lyndon here recently. Liz and I were fortunate enough 2 weekends ago to actually get 3 different homes under contract in a Saturday and Sunday. And in those 3 real estate transactions, 100% of the participants in that transaction, and I'm talking about lender, title company, inspector, tradesman, everyone involved in those 3 transactions, 100% of those people came from the Real Estate Triangle.
Awesome.
And how much confidence does that give you, knowing that you know everybody you're dealing with, right?
And I'm telling you, and what that does is when we run into a problem at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, I have those cell phone numbers of all those people involved in that transaction. And I shoot a text and we get an answer at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. Whereas if I didn't know that person, I might be stuck waiting until Monday morning to get answers.
Right. And Landon, you say, how much confidence does that give you? It's gives the clients of Adam and his wife the confidence, and really it shows them, hey, we've got a team, we've got your back. I mean, it's all about the client's confidence, and that just spreads. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine walking into their living room and saying, here's the people working on this transaction. We all know, like, and trust each other. All right, that's one. Now imagine walking in with all the people that are involved in that transaction and nobody knowing each other. Where's that client going to feel the most comfortable? And that's kind of what we talk about, and that is the difference. It is the difference, because you want that person, you want the transaction to be as pain free as possible. There's always challenges, but Adam, you're right. The know, like, and trust is so important, and so we got to take that time to not just be acquaintances, but to have that connection. Man, I hate to drop you. You're going to be back with me here in just a little bit anyway. But thanks for coming on. Appreciate
Absolutely.
appreciate your time.
Brian. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
All right. What do you think about that so far? We got our next guest sitting and waiting. But Brian, I mean, we've had James on. You know James. You know Adam. You obviously know the next lady and friend coming on as well. But what do you think today about the show? I mean, just listening to them and what they have to say. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think the reason we're all part of the difference is because we're all like-minded in that it's not about direct business with each other that we can do, or direct business with our audience, though that would be great. It's more about just connecting each other to folks that could help them, or maybe not. But it's all about making connections and collaborating, right?
Yep.
So that's I advertise out here on the show today. We're talking about collaboration, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Is we've got 3 folks from the difference who are making the difference in their businesses coming on to talk about their shows, their topics, and their connections, and how we can all continue to work together to grow this thing. And I just think that's awesome, and that's what we talked about when we first started this, or when you first started this movement. And I got on board right away, just knowing that that's the concept that we're all shooting for, is connecting each other, and growing trusted business contacts and personal contacts. So, this is, I love the fact that we were able to get other folks from the difference on today. And I don't know if Holly's ready to come on yet, but
I think she is. But Brian, welcome Holly. But Brian, you're right. And what I love about you guys, and I really appreciate, is your buy-in to the fact that when the spotlight shines on you, you're willing to share it with others that you have relationships with. And man, I don't want to get all emotional and sappy, but that is what, for me, that's been my vision. Okay. I felt like I could create the difference. I can get the right people that see that vision and share that value. And I just want to say thank you to you, Brian, for doing that with your show today. And Holly, you do that on your shows. I'm excited to talk about your show. James has got a great show. People are going to say, well, you say that about everybody's show. Well, we have some, hey, to be honest, we have some damn good shows. We have some damn good people with damn good ideas and damn good shows. And if you're not watching, a lot of good humans. So now we're talking about good humans. Holly, I've said this before. You're one of the goodest I know. You're
making me cry now.
I'll try not. So Holly and I met, I think, in December. Holly and I met in December of last year. I think she started being a part of the difference. So she's been with us for quite a while.
January this year.
We have we've experimented with different topics and themes and things like that, but it always comes back to your heart. It each and every time. I mean, you know, and that's what the difference took a different turn, because in the beginning it was going to be all about business. And now I'm just, it's about people. It's about people and helping other people. And you are creating a show. You've done 2 so far. And everybody, I'm trying to talk her into going to once a week, because people need to be hearing about where she's serving. You also recently got involved with a group, helped create a group, RVs for MDs, to help the medical community that was experiencing some challenges with COVID, so that they'd have a place to stay near their family without exposing their family. We won't talk too much about that today, but that was incredible. But Holly, tell everybody about, let's talk just a little bit about you in Geneva,
Okay.
and then I want to finish up about the Good Human series and the direction that's taking right now.
Sure. Brian, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. You are the epitome of what a good human is. You're amazing. Lyndon, you too.
He's all
I
right.
mean,
He's all right.
I felt when
I don't know.
I
I don't
first
know.
met you, Lyndon, when I first met you, I just thought I've got to get to know this guy. He cares so much about promoting and helping people, and that again just goes right back to being a good human. That's the type of person I want to surround myself with.
Thank you.
So I've been
Thank you for that, Holly.
yeah, absolutely.
Glad to have you on the show. I'm glad you could join us today.
I appreciate it. So I have been doing mortgage loans for 19 years. Oh my goodness, 19 years last month. And I started with Geneva Financial a little over a year ago. I really liked the platforms that they had. I really liked the way they put the client first and want to find ways to help. They want to find ways to approve loans instead of deny them, and that means a lot to me. It's not a battle to get a loan done unless we're going through COVID. So sometimes that has a little nasty effect on some loans. But yeah, and I met Brian. Gosh, when did we meet? Was that in January or February at the KVGI?
Coming up about a year ago, it seems like.
Yeah. And so we met at the KVGI radio station for one of the first shows that I hopped on when it was the radio show The Difference instead of our own individual shows. And that was a lot of fun. What else? Goodness. So my show, the Good Human series, I wanted the Good Human series to be about obviously being a good human and what we can all do to do that on a daily basis, ways that we can be a good human on a daily basis, things that we can do, things that we can change, things that we can teach or educate others, ways that we can become better at everything that we do on a daily basis. And that was really the whole basis of the Good Human series. Obviously, I do mortgages. I want to promote my business and everything, and that is my day job. But being a good human has a lot to do with that industry, in my opinion, because I feel like there's so many out there that are just in it for a paycheck, and I really believe that you can't be that way today in this industry. I think that you have to have a good heart, and you have to really truly want to figure out what is best for the client, what is going to be in their best interest today and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, 30 years from now. That's the whole basis of the way I do my business. One thing I wanted to mention I'm so excited about, Linda and I haven't even told you this yet, but I received an email. I was nominated for a cover feature in Top Agent magazine.
Oh, wow.
So they just sent over my article and got my approval, and yeah, I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
So
well, congratulations. Congratulations, Holly.
Thank you.
2020 has been a crappy year. When you compare them to others, obviously we've all been faced with some challenges and had to adapt but man, you have really worked to make an impact. COVID threw us all a curveball. I hate to use the word blessed with COVID. I just hate to do that. But when COVID happened, we had the one radio show that all of you guys were a part of, and I loved it. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. I got to get to know you more. People got to know all of you. When COVID happened, we couldn't do that anymore. And so we had to figure out something different. And because of that, the Difference Media, whatever we want to call it, was born, where now you all have shows and we're reaching more people in different ways. Mm-hmm. You got involved and helped create the RVs for MDs I mentioned before. So many people have been so fearful, and I'm not using this to be demeaning or derogatory, but we have a tendency to curl up in a ball when things happen, and you fought through this, and you continue to fight through it, and you see the people that are hurting, and you see why they're hurting, and you're looking for solutions with that.
I think we have to. I think
Well,
we have to
it
stay
helps
sane.
keeps our sanity. It really does.
Yes.
You know, I kind of was telling Jordan before, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but you know, we had a show before, and I said, you know, 18 years ago, I was doing really well, and I was so unhappy, and I couldn't figure out why I was unhappy. And the reason I was unhappy, I finally realized, is because I had an expectation of what everybody should be doing for me, and that was never met every day. Every day, I'm pissed off because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Right. Been there, done that.
So then I
What's
backed
the
up and
one
I'm
thing
like,
you can control,
what?
right?
Yeah. You know, what if I start focusing on what I can do for them? Because I can control that. I can serve people,
Oh, I just got chills.
and my life got better.
Yeah.
It did. My life got better. And when I say that, I mean I was happier. I was more satisfied. I felt like I had a purpose and a reason
Right.
more than what I was doing before. Let's talk now about your show, because you shared some information with me before you started it. You're now doing the Good Human series, and your focus at this particular point is on the people that are involved in the rescue and rehab of those impacted by human trafficking.
Yes.
I have learned so much in 2 shows. One, that it's happening to our next door neighbors. This is not some third world country thing where they're taken
Right.
out of a village and nobody knows that they're missing.
Right. Which is
This is-
what that's what everybody feels like. That's what's happening. It's a movie, or if you see it, it's over there. It doesn't affect us.
It's not in our neighborhoods. I'm above that.
Right.
I you know, and it's not going to touch me. I feel bad for all of them, and yeah, that's terrible and nasty, and I hate it. But you know, life goes on. And what I've learned in these 2 shows is that, man, it's close to home. It can be happening right in our not in our own communities, but people have shared how it was happening within their families and they didn't know it was happening, because it encompasses so much. Talk a little bit about your passion for that, some of your connections that you have in there, and where you're going with that show. While you're doing that, I'm also going to put up your a little bit of information on the show, so you'll be able to be heard. But go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I really became passionate about this because I have 2 family members that have really dove deep into the human trafficking arena. One of them was involved on the rescue side. One of them was involved with the side where after the rescue, so helping to give life back to these kids, and we're talking little kids. This is not just something that happens to, and it's horrible no matter what the age is, but I'm talking 3-year-old children, 4-year-old children. I mean, this is happening to little babies. This is insane, and it's disgusting, and people don't realize how bad it really is. And so my focus is getting this out there and making people more aware of what is going on. And I want people to hear the nasty side of it. I want them to hear this part of it.
Yeah, they need to
Because
feel
I
it.
feel like we're so shielded. We're so shielded by we're shielded. We don't realize how bad it really is, and how horrific it really can be. And I think that the more we can talk about it, the more shows that I do, bringing people on to talk about their experiences with a rescue, what it made them feel, you know, the fear, the joy. I mean, there's so many emotions that go along with it. I mean, when somebody makes that rescue and they have that child in their arms and they're running with that child and maybe have a gun, you know, hanging from one side and a child hanging from the other side, and they're fearful of the person coming around the corner, you know, that protecting that child. They've already seen so many horrific things.
Right.
And so having people on the show that can really get behind the feelings and the emotions behind these rescues, I think is what's going to open a lot of people's eyes, so that they can see the truth.
Right.
And it's like I said, I've had a lot of, I don't want to say I've had a lot of experience with it. I haven't had any experience with it personally, but I'm close to people that have. And like I said, hearing their stories, it is gut wrenching. And every time I hear a story, one of these stories from the people I've had on my show, it breaks my heart, number one, but it makes me want to do something. It makes me want to find a way to do something. I'm not a police officer. I'm not, built where I can go and, break down a door, or I don't have a military background. So I don't have the means or the physical means to do a rescue or to be a part of a rescue, but I wanted to find a way that I could be a part of it and make a difference.
Right.
And so this is the way I felt like I could do it. And I'm going to have other topics on my show. I'm going to have, other things that we discuss as well, other people on my show to help promote small businesses and help build them up. I just want to help everybody.
Well,
I want everybody that comes in contact with me to be helped some way or other. And whether it's financially, if I can help them financially, or if it's just being a shoulder to cry on, or if it's, standing up for them, talking about things that people may not want to talk about.
Well, just bringing awareness. Yeah. Just bringing awareness. And that's what you're using and leveraging your show and platform for. Obviously, hopefully people see you, recognize you. And if they need a home loan, they choose Holly.
Absolutely.
That's great too, but that's not why you do it. And that's part of being the good human. I do want to say that, you talked about sharing the emotion and sharing the feeling, and you want people to feel what it's, what people are going through. Here's the thing that I got out of that. I want to make two comments, and then unfortunately, Holly, we got to close. But number one, it'll make you sick at your stomach when you start hearing these stories, and then when you start hearing the people talk that are the heroes in this, it is so euphoric that it's like real life superheroes going in there. First show Holly did, real quick, I'm going to say this, and then I'll let you say goodbye to everybody. But this was so cool. Holly had a guest on. We couldn't use the camera because this guy is deeply involved in the processes of rescue, and so he was able to talk to us. And I was like, man, this is cool, real professional stuff here. I feel like one of those undercover news guys, Yeah, absolutely. But, it's real, folks. And Holly is doing her part to bring awareness to it, because the more that we know and understand, the more that we can help and and watch out for our communities, our children. There's adults that get trapped in this as well. But Holly, right. Thank you for being on today. Brian, you got anything to say for Holly?
Other than just thank you, Holly, for coming on. I mean, we talk about relationship-based business, and all you have to do is talk to Holly for 2 minutes to know that she is all relationship-based. Clearly, it comes out she cares. She's got a heart of gold, and I just appreciate you coming on today and sharing.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you,
Sorry, I
Holly.
look like a ghost. I've got too much. I should have shut my blinds.
That's okay. We're none of us are professionals, and we're just jumping in and learning to swim while we go, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for
Hey,
thank you for being.
It's all about touching everybody and getting the message out.
That's it. That's it. Well, thank you, Holly. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You guys have a blessed day.
You too.
Brian, man, I really appreciate you opening your show up today. And of course, you've been doing that. You've been bringing on some great guests and really spotlighting them. But thank you for being so generous with your time, with your show, and allowing all of those to talk a little bit about their show. And I agree with Holly. You are a good human and good friend, and definitely a valued part of the difference. So I'm going to let you close us out now. If you got anything else to say about real property management, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll end it that way.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Lennon, and thanks to all my guests today. It was great having you guys on and sharing your stories and about your shows. If you're looking for property management help or dipping your feet into the real estate investment pool, please give us a call at Real Property Management, 469-820-0088, or look us up on www.realpmfocus.com. Until next week, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
The Difference is a proud supporter of the following nonprofits. Creek and Timber Legacy, providing outdoor learning, hunting, and firearm therapy for veterans, first responders, and children with serious illness. You can find more info at creekandtimberlegacy.org. And Sharp Shoes. Through local schools and shelters, Sharp Shoes helps provide new shoes for countless needy people and their families. You can find more info at sharpshoes.org.